Hello, Access 2022. Our presentation provides a brief overview of our group's research into and experimentation with converting archival description data to records in context. Records in context, or RiC, is a conceptual model for describing archival records, related agents, and activities with semantic triples. It is being developed by the International Council on Archives and is currently in draft format. Why are we interested in RiC, and who are we? We are an informal international group of archivists and librarians who work with archival data or systems that provide access to archival data, such as archive space or access to memory or ATOM. Because of time limits, I won't name each of us, but our background is that we began working together as a group during the IMLS-funded Lighting the Way project on archival discovery. Our group was interested in how linked data could enhance discovery of our collections with a focus on Wikidata. Our collaborative and hands-on research discussions were helpful in talking through linked data issues that we all shared, so we continued to meet after Lighting the Way ended. Our research focus turned to exploring other archival description linked data opportunities, starting with what a potential transition to RiC might look like. Our initial questions were, what does RiC offer? How can we make the transition to RiC? Is this transition accessible to any type of archival institution, or is it limited to archives with specific levels of funding, training, and resources? Any transition to a new standard will require planning, estimations of labor, resourcing, and ideally, practical implementation pathways where the benefits justify the costs. So we started to get to know RiC. With 106 classes and over 238 core properties, we realized our understanding of it would best be informed by looking at our actual archival description data in RiC RDF format. We were grateful to find that the National Archives of France has a public script that can help with conversion. It converts EAD 2002 XML files to RiC RDF. The script offered us a consistent way to convert each of our own data to RiC. We produced a sample set of records from each institution. 3 of us use archive space, 1 uses ATOM, and 1 uses a homegrown system with EAD records encoded by hand. That gave us a wide variety of examples to compare the script's output. Here are some snippets of what our converted files look like and our first impressions of our data as RiC RDF. First, because the script was developed for the National Archives of France, the script tends to make assumptions. For example, it applied a local language declaration, assumed to be French, across each sample record. And then for some of us, the script resulted in missing provenance information. Well, for others, it did pick up provenance, but all of our source files were EAD 2002 XML, so we found this strange at first glance. Well, these first 2 issues that we noticed could be resolved by diving into the conversion script's code. We were most surprised to notice that the script assumes much of the source data is a literal or text-based. You can see this in conditions of access, scope and content, and the arrangement note. This makes sense, of course, since these and many other archival description fields tend to be big blocks of text, but it was striking to us to view how much of the RDF conversion process resulted in data that didn't look much different than what we have in our original systems or the original EAD XML files. We didn't see how this initial conversion process enhanced our data. Also, very few of our sample EAD XML records contained URIs for entities, but where these did exist, the script did capture them. For example, in geographic and agent subjects. We suspect most archival institutions will not have many URIs for entities in their descriptions. This limits what can be done in a conversion to RDF. It results in a text-heavy rather than an interlinked output. Our observations so far may not surprise many Access attendees. First, conversion scripts are not a magic solution. As we saw, much of our archival description does not translate to meaningful RDF. Any conversion from EAD XML or other description formats to meaningful RiC RDF will require script retooling or significant human intervention. Instead of a full-scale conversion, perhaps steps can be taken to enrich our current data first. This might include adding more identifiers to our data or uniquely classifying entities or events to break them out of long text fields. Finally, and we can't emphasize this enough, our experiments with converting our data to RiC showed that each of our institutions' output varied, even though we use the same input format and same conversion script. The relative openness of archival standards means that interlinking data across archives, whether it be in EAD XML, RDF, or something else, will continue to be a challenge. Standards are wonderful, but shared practices are what make the standards actually work. Today's presentation only represents the beginning of our research. One of the next things we want to think about are use cases for RDF-based archival description data, and what simple actions we can take now so that our description data is prepared for future linked data standards and tools. We continue to think about labor in all of this as well. Any adoption of a new standard requires years of work. We expect that any transition of moving archival description data to an RDF or semantic triples format will require resources dedicated to building new systems, scripts, and tools, but also the social communities and working groups that support and encourage widespread adoption to create standardized data. We will put up a link to our slides, and all of our RiC outputs can be found on GitHub. Please feel free to get in contact with us if you have thoughts or questions. Thanks for your attention. Take care.